Okay, welcome everybody, and it's so awesome to be back here on the Syntropy app. And today I have the pleasure of introducing founder of BrandMed Group of Companies, Syntropy Wellbeing app, Riaz Mutara, cardiologist and physician. Riaz, it's so good to have you here with us today.
Hello, Paula. Thank you very much for having me today.
It's actually my honor because you and I have been chatting along, we've been in touch with each other, and you have a wealth of knowledge, which I'm so looking forward to tapping in today about a topic that is on everybody's lips in the work that I do, but I also know the work that you do, and that is around burnout. And I think it's also very topical and important this time of the year because I hear a lot of people saying that it feels like they're hanging on by their fingernails. They can't wait to get through the next couple of weeks so that they can go on holiday, they can just relax and unwind. But then it starts all over again next year, right? It's almost like rinse and repeat.
Yeah, it's literally 2 weeks and we're back into the rat race. And before you know it, we're feeling stressed or anxious or burnt out again, Paula.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because I think there's a lot of confusion, or the lines are very blurred between the difference around anxiety, stress, and burnout. So can you help us understand that?
Right. So remember that stress is not necessarily a bad thing for us. We were physiologically and from an evolutionary point of view designed to deal or to have a certain amount of stress. But if you go back perhaps thousands of years, our adrenaline levels only really went up when we were hunting or being hunted. And now it feels like we're permanently doing that.
Yes, that's true.
So stress, anxiety, and burnout are similar words. It's just, it's the degree of stress that will determine the label. Okay. So stress may be very early on, and it's our perception of what we're feeling. And some people will be able to deal with it and manage that stress, and other people can't manage it at that level already. Once stress starts to become more prolonged or more consistent, it may lead to symptoms of anxiety where we're feeling like we can't cope. It's starting to become too much. Burnout is the end stage of all of this, where physiologically our body is in a state now of where it can't allow our body to deal with this excess adrenaline, and we become symptomatic, and it affects the quality of our life.
So let me see if I understand that. So from a stress point of view, someone once said to me, there's good stress and bad stress. And you've kind of alluded to that already. And an example that was given to me was good stress would be you're about to write an exam and you're nervous, you're apprehensive, you're not sure if you've done enough work to pass this exam. So the day before, there's maybe butterflies in your stomach, maybe you don't really sleep that well. The next day you write your exam, and after the exam, your body goes back to its normal regulative state. So that's an example of good stress. It's helps us just be aware and on our toes, so to speak.
Yeah, and another form of good stress would be something like exercise. You go out for a run, you go to the gym, and your adrenaline levels go up to push your heart rate up to allow you to manage that level of effort. And that's a good form of stress because all the stress hormones will go up, but then once you're done, they come down. And you don't feel like it's affecting you either physiologically or physically or emotionally in a negative way.
Now I know why they always prescribe exercise as a pull for health.
Let's look at exercise a little differently, Paula. Exercise is generally a good thing, but can be negative as well, depending on where we are in this continuum. So remember that our bodies were never, ever designed for chronic forms of stress or very high intensity form of exercises because it's simply wear and tear on our bodies. So if your body is already in a stress state and you then go, many people feel like maybe I must just go and exercise. And that can actually be negative for the body because it's adding to the stress level at a physiological level. And perhaps maybe I'll talk about that a bit later.
Okay. So that gives me a good indication of stress. Now let's talk anxiety, because you hear about things like panic attacks and anxiety medication. So how does that then differ to stress in terms of the good stress and the bad stress?
So once we faced with stress over a longer period of time, let's say you got divorced or somebody died in the family or you lost your job and the stress levels are now becoming more chronic, that demands that our body can't cope with it. So physiologically, our body will always seek a state of balance. So if your sugar's high, your body will make more insulin to balance out the sugar. If your salt levels are high, your kidneys and your hormones have to work a little bit harder to create that level of balance within the body. And it's the same thing in our body when it comes to stress. So the nervous system in our body, we have a stress and an anti-stress nervous system called the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. And the stress system is controlled by a stress hormone called adrenaline. And the anti-stress nervous system is controlled by two hormones called cortisol and DHEA that are made in the same adrenal glands in our body. And generally we have to, both of these systems have to be in a state of balance. So acutely, if you were being chased by a lion and you have to run and climb the tree to save your life, that's a good form of stress. Your adrenaline levels go very high, but then your body will make high cortisol to counterbalance the harmful effects of that adrenaline level. But then it's designed to come down. Now, when stress becomes more chronic, the same adrenal glands have to continuously make more and more cortisol to balance out the adrenaline. And eventually, those adrenal glands can't cope. So the cortisol now goes down, and you end up with too much adrenaline in your blood that's too high for too long. And that then leads to the symptoms of what we call anxiety.
And, I think at a very basic level, people understand the fight, flee, freeze, correct, because that talks to our parasympathetic stress system and sympathetic stress system. And, fight, flee, freeze are common terms that people hear, but our bodies can get stuck in those states as well.
Absolutely. And so if you look at the way, this is why most anxiety attacks will happen at, let's say, 4 o'clock in the morning or between midnight and 4 o'clock in the morning. You're fast asleep. You're not thinking about anything consciously that's stressful, but it will wake you up in your sleep and now your heart's racing and you've got pain in your chest and you can't breathe. Okay, so where's that coming from? So we know, for an example, that our cortisol levels start to rise at 4 o'clock in the morning. They peak between 8 and 10 o'clock in the morning. They then dip over midday. That's why the Mediterranean people will go and have a siesta. They go up in the early afternoons and then they steadily drop at night. So our cortisol levels are lowest between midnight and 4 o'clock in the morning. But at the same time, our adrenaline levels are high. And this is why people may find it difficult to fall asleep, or they fall asleep, but now they're getting up at midnight and 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the morning, and then the whole system is just aggravated the next day. So if your adrenaline levels are high when you go to bed at night, but your cortisol levels are low, that's what will trigger the anxiety attack. So, and the way you know that your cortisol levels are low, common symptoms, Paula, is that you'll experience fatigue in the late afternoons and evenings. You become more irritable. You start to crave for chocolates or sweet things at night. You can't tolerate noise or bright lights very well. You've got headaches, dizziness, eczema, joint pains, dark rings around your eyes, any of those potential symptoms may indicate that your system's out of balance.
And I'm glad you've mentioned some of those symptoms, Riaz, because not many people think about the physiological things that you've mentioned, cortisol. But we do start recognizing some of those things. I'm tired. I think this is now coming into burnout as well, where it's just a combination of physical, mental, emotional exhaustion or depletion. Like just even the effort to get out of bed is hard. And trying to motivate ourselves is in itself hard. And so, some of the signs that people need to look out for, you've mentioned them. And at what point do you start thinking, maybe I need to go and have myself checked out? And who do they go to? And what kind of tests do they need to happen to test your cortisol, as an example?
So just let's take it a step back. So when you're stressed, your cortisol levels go up. So in the initial stage of this whole entire process, your cortisol levels will be very high. But once the stress is ongoing, you start finding that your cortisol levels start to drop. And then burnout is the end stage of this entire process, where your cortisol levels and your DHEA levels, these are two hormones or anti-stress hormones, are now hitting rock bottom. And your body can't mount an anti-stress response to these high levels of adrenaline. So the simple way of looking at this is to ask a few questions. Firstly, is the stress, am I coping? Am I able to manage this level of stress? Or am I starting to experience those early symptoms that I mentioned of the fatigue in the late afternoons and evenings and the cravings and so on? And if you're starting to get to that level, then you may want to see your doctor, and they can do a simple cortisol test in the morning, and they can measure that. But at the same time, there's another way of measuring the effect of your adrenaline levels. So the cortisol, that's under your anti-stress hormone. The adrenaline, as I said, is your stress hormone. And a simple way of measuring how much of adrenaline or the effect of it in the body is to measure or to have a test done called a heart rate variability test, or HRV test. So to explain that simply, all our heartbeats are not constant. So there's always this variation from one heartbeat to the next heartbeat. It's like a pendulum, okay? And it's never quite fixed. So when we do an HRV test, and we can do that simply by an app on your phone now, if your heart rate variability is low, that means there's not a lot of variation from one beat to another beat. That indicates that the adrenaline levels are high, and if you measure a cortisol level and that's low, then we know that your autonomic nervous system or stress and anti-stress nervous system is out of balance. So two very simple tests. One is a blood test. One can be done simply on your phone, and you can get an indication of where you are. The burnout stage, as I said, is now more extreme, when you can't get out of bed, or you've got the joint aches and the muscle pains, and your body just feels so fatigued and you can't cope.
And that's what's been very topical in the corporate space this year. And I think thanks to COVID, putting the spotlight on it. But also, and I know you read the State of the Heart report that just came out, and they've stated in that report that the world is going through an energy crisis, and that this energy crisis is leading to burnout, and that people are suffering from burnout without realizing it. And I think it's a bit of the chicken and the egg thing, right? Because first of all, you've got to take care of your own well-being, right? You're responsible for your own well-being. But at the same time, from a corporate point of view, how do corporates also provide for well-being when it comes to their employees? A lot of corporates have employee wellness programs or employee assistance programs. But are they really effective? Are they really measuring the right things? And how do we know that staff are burnt out?
If you look at the numbers, Paula, they're quite staggering. 7 out of 10 people now report that they are not coping. 60% of people feel, or 53% of people report being burnt out at that more advanced stage. And 60% of people feel disengaged, at work. So it's a massive issue today after the entire COVID pandemic, and it's steadily getting worse. And there are so many environmental factors that are contributing to us feeling this way. We have to deal with all the global issues that are happening all the time, constantly. Then there's financial issues and financial stress that people are experiencing. And then we've got, stresses, the usual stresses of life with our children and schooling, and work-related issues. So there's just so much going on, and everything just feels like it's speeding up or moving too quickly. And more and more people are finding that they can't cope with this level of stress. So I think the first thing is that corporates need to be aware of what's happening in people's lives. And then there have to be programs put into place to support as many people as possible at employment, but also in the comfort of their homes, with techniques that allow them to understand what they are feeling. And my view on it is, once you have insight into what's causing the problem and you understand it, that's 50% of the cure. The remaining 50% is, what am I going to do about it, or where can I find help?
And I mean, I've worked with a couple of corporates that are very proactive in this space, where they've built employee wellness into their organizational strategy, their business strategy, and their employee wellness and human capital strategy is center to their business, because your people are your business, right? And if your people are not well, your business is not going to be well. And the stats that you've mentioned are staggering. If that high percentage of people are disengaged, what is that saying about how well they are in terms of being engaged and productive and being able to be creative and innovative and come up with solutions and keep up with trends and technology and all of these? As you say, the world is moving at a fast pace. But then I think there's also companies there that, and I say this with the greatest respect, a tick box exercise. We're going to run an employee wellness day, and we're going to get the likes of a BrandMed in, or the other service providers, to come and do the basic checks, cholesterol, heart rate, sugar, all of those kind of things. But then what? What do you do with those results?
Absolutely. So this is the key thing, or the challenge that we all face, and many corporates, meanwhile, and they offer their employees a wellness day, and you go for a screening and you get a nice looking report. But then what? What's the next step? How do we keep people engaged, and how do we provide solutions that work and that people can use in an effective way? So my understanding would be that you can't do anything until you have measured it and you understand where you are. And that is absolutely critical. Okay. So once you know that your cortisol levels, for example, are low, or your heart rate variability is low, they're both low, then okay, look, what, my body's struggling. And then it's getting to that point of acceptance. Well, I understand where I am. I can feel the symptoms of my physiology not being balanced. And then the question is, what is step one, and what do I do next? Where do I find help, and what do I need to do next? Now, often people may go onto medication. They need a pill for anxiety or for depression and so on. But that's part of the solution. The first step is knowing your numbers and understanding where am I at, and then knowing where do I need to get help, or what types of solutions are available to deal with these varying levels of stress.
Let's talk about burnout, because some of the research that I was reading a while ago said that it can take up to 2 years from someone to recover from a chronic bout of burnout. because of getting all their levels back into balance and, getting them back to operating and functioning at a normal level. What is your view on that?
So I think, it doesn't have to take so long, Paula. I think the problem for the vast majority of people is that nobody has really understood what to do for people with burnout. We've tried the medication route, and as I said, you may need medication for a certain amount of time as a means to an end. But it's those behavioral techniques that are absolutely crucial, and empowering people with tools to allow them to deal with stress in the first place. I think for many of us, we grew up in a system or going to school or in our homes where our parents didn't understand it. And then you get employed, and then you've got all these other stresses, and nobody has equipped us with tools or means of dealing with stress. Everybody makes the assumption that we're going to deal with it. And some people can deal with more, and some people will deal with less to have the same physiological response in the body.
So let's talk a little bit about treatment. So you've mentioned tools and you've mentioned medication. And I think both have a place, right? There's a place for everything. And there's a time when you are going to need medication. And then there's the time when you're going to need tools. What are some of those tools that you're talking about?
Right. So for me, the first step is understand your body and understand where you are and measure it. Then, depending on what you find or what the levels are, will determine what you're going to do next. So let's talk about the tools. So everybody's heard about mindfulness or the concept of mindfulness. And all that mindfulness is really getting you to a point of slowing down. As much as we take our adrenaline levels up with exercise and work stress and family stress, you need to give your body a break. You need to be selfish and allocate 30 minutes to an hour of every day to just you, okay, where you switch off your mobile phone, okay, you sit in a quiet place or in a beautiful space in a garden or in nature or in your bedroom or in your office, but close the door and switch the phones off. And a simple techniques of meditation and breathing exercises can make such a massive difference in bringing down the adrenaline. So remember, we don't have any medication that's going to reduce your adrenaline levels. So how do we bring those adrenaline levels down? If we take them up during the stressful periods in our life, then we have to give ourselves the time to bring it down to allow the anti-stress nervous system also to take a break and to recover. Rest and recovery. So 10 minutes of meditation a day has been shown in so many different studies to reduce anxiety, to reduce stress, to reduce burnout, and to then reduce the chronic effects of all of this, such as things like high blood pressure and heart attack and stroke, and so on. So meditation has been proven, and it's a simple story. You don't have to go and look very far to learn how to meditate. You can search online. You can follow a guided meditation. And once you start getting better at it, you'll feel that difference after 10 minutes of meditation. You could see a breathwork practitioner, and they can teach you how to breathe. And that sounds very strange that we need to learn how to breathe. So if you look at yourself when you are stressed, we sit with our arms across our chest, and we prevent our chest from expanding. And we shallow breathe in the upper part of our chest, and that keeps the adrenaline levels high. But if you go and learn about diaphragmatic breathing, and there's so many different techniques, and you can find people who can help you with this. And breathing will help slow your heart rate down, help bring down your adrenaline levels. A hot shower followed by a cold shower, cold immersion, has been shown to boost the anti-stress nervous system and bring the adrenaline down. Walking barefoot and grounding yourself for 30 minutes a day can also help balance out that autonomic nervous system. So these are simple tools or techniques that we can have that can make you feel better and allow the system to recover. But I also believe, if you're not coping, find a coach or find somebody or attend a course or read something. The answers are all out there. And equip yourself and empower yourself with techniques that allow you to manage your stress levels. Because although we've had all these past experiences that have been very stressful, we don't know what else is coming our way. So you want to prepare going forward to also help you deal with all the other stress that we're going to face.
And I think you mentioned a trigger word for a lot of people when you said you need to be selfish and make time for yourself. And I think a lot of people feel guilty, especially moms, in terms of taking time out for themselves, as simple as 30 minutes a day for themselves to go and rest or recover or re-energize themselves. But it's not selfish, right? It sounds like you're making a valuable investment in yourself, in your well-being, to equip yourself with tools, or the other buzzword is resilience, to prepare for those future things that you've just mentioned are coming so we can manage them better.
Absolutely. So, what's the point if we're burnt out and we can't cope? We're not productive, both in our homes, as you were talking about mums, or in the work environment, or in just generally in life. You're not going to be productive, and it's a vicious cycle, So I'm using the word selfish in a positive way to say that take the time out for yourself in a day. A simple exercise that you can do is, for 5 minutes when you get up in the morning before you get out of bed, just say thank you for as many things that you can be grateful for. So, thank you for my spouse, or thank you for this beautiful day, and thank you for my home. As many things as you can be grateful for in that 5 minutes. And that will change the nature of your day. So you start to become more present to everything around you. On your way to work, you'll notice the other cars and the trees and the blue sky and so on. It makes you present. And then 10 minutes mid-morning, 10 minutes mid-afternoon, you need to escape what you're doing and go and do a simple meditation. And then 5 minutes before you go to bed at night, close your eyes and breathe. And don't think about, tomorrow I'm going to get up and I have to do X, Y, and Z, and I have to do this meeting, and I have to pay this bill. Visualize your day tomorrow. I'm going to get up tomorrow morning. It's going to be a beautiful sunny day, and I'm going to have a truly inspiring day. And I'm going to firstly give to myself, and then I'm going to be giving in so many different ways to all the people around me, both at home and at work. So do it, but do it every day as an exercise and see the difference. It's important to talk to yourself.
Now, you've been speaking a lot from an individual point of view in terms of how we can take care of ourselves and some of the steps and tools that we can use. But as a business owner yourself, how serious do businesses and corporates need to take this thing, burnout, that's being thrown out there as the new next pandemic that we are experiencing? I mean, is it as serious as it's being made out to be, or is it just a media hype?
So I think it's very serious. I mean, it's confirmed. And if you talk to all the doctors out there, they'll tell you that this is what they're seeing in clinical practice at the moment. So if you talk to the medical aid companies, they'll tell you that they're seeing exactly the same thing, that people are not coping. People are being diagnosed with more and more mental health conditions, and more people are ending up on medication for these conditions. So for me, it's you start with yourself first. Okay, that's important to focus on yourself and empower yourself. And then at a corporate level, I believe that corporates could be instituting very simple programs at work, where you could be doing this either individually or in groups of people, and start a meditation club, or have a meditation room at work, or have a quiet space at work. Get a breathwork practitioner to come in to the offices and teach people how to breathe. to reduce those stress levels. Getting a transformational coach who can come in and talk to people, and get them to acknowledge where they are and what they are feeling, and putting together programs or coach people to help manage those stress levels. And you'll find that people are then so much more engaged and more productive.
And it makes sense and it sounds so simple, but some of the feedback that I've been getting in the corporate networks that I'm plugged into is we did all of this stuff over COVID. We had mental well-being webinars while we were in lockdown to keep our people engaged and help them manage the uncertainty and the anxiety that came with COVID. But COVID's come and gone now. COVID's moved on and we've moved on. The world has moved on. So, enough with the fluffy stuff now. We need to get down to work and we need to start delivering.
So I don't think we've actually overcome the effects of COVID yet, Paula. I think we're just scratching the surface. I think it's actually going to get far worse. Okay, that if you look at kids who never went to school, and I'm talking about little kids, adolescents who missed out of 3 years of their schooling life, young people at university, people that were working at home. Initially, it was very good. It was great. You could work from home. But then the loneliness set in, and as human beings, we crave other human contact. And all of these negative effects, I believe, have become part of our psyche. Okay. And at the same time, we're being faced with so many other challenges, of uncertainty, both locally and what's happening in the rest of the world. So people are feeling challenged. And I think for me, it's absolutely crucial that you learn those techniques and put them into practice daily in your life. And if you can start with yourself and empowering yourself first, then perhaps you can empower the next person that you know. And corporates are never going to cure the problem. I think they can support people at work and their employees by making those tools and that expertise available to their employees. But, you could have the best program at a corporate client, but if the employees are not willing to take that next step, you're never going to win. So for me, it's absolutely crucial that when I talk about being selfish, you need to be selfish with yourself and focus on yourself first before you can focus on everyone else. So I think you need the buy-in of employees and the buy-in of corporates. And more importantly, you need to get to a point of acceptance that I have a problem. Most people would rather deny that there's an issue and hope that it's going to get better. In fact, it's just going to get worse. So accepting that I have a problem, having insight into what's causing my problem, and then what are the tools and who are the people that can help me.
And I'm glad you've mentioned that because as we know from other research, stigma is the number one thing that prevents people from speaking up, that they have an issue, that I'm not okay and I need help. And it's all good and well companies having these wellness programs in place, but if the culture doesn't talk to that, and that it's okay to not be okay, and if you need help, go and get help. We're here to support you. Yes, we can't fix it for you, but we're here to support you by making all of these tools available. Then yes, there will be a hesitance and a resistance from employees to use those tools because of the environment where it's actually not condoned. It's not, it's not that easy. Yes, they're there, but it's almost, there's something wrong with you. It's like, why can't you cope? Why aren't you coping with us?
Right. So I think that's 100% correct. And I think many people don't, especially if you're an employee in a big corporate, people are worried that, look, if I speak up, I may lose my job. Okay. And then that's just going to add, and that creates another level of more stress. And then, okay, maybe I'll just join the gym and I'll go and exercise. And then that makes the whole process worse because you're starting off from a completely different baseline. So I think, for the crucial thing is it has to start at an individual level. You have to be selfish. You have to need to focus on your own well-being first. And yes, I think corporates can provide the tools and the means that if you do need help, you can get it. But, corporates have got other challenges today as well. There's a lot of anxiety and stress at all levels of corporates. Everybody assumes that the CEO is okay, at that level of management, you've got your own challenges. So for me, it's absolutely important and vital that you reach that point of acceptance and then ask for help. If you don't ask for help, it's just going to progress more and more and more, and you're going to hit that stage of burnout. And when you hit that stage of burnout, you actually can't have insight. You don't have the insight into what you should be doing next to help yourself.
And I think, a great example of this would be someone at a senior level, a CEO level, for example, that openly talks about how they are taking care of their own well-being, and that is leading by example, because when employees see that the CEO or senior people take their well-being seriously, and they are putting steps and measures in place to help them cope effectively, it kind of makes it okay. It gives the rest of the employees permission to do it as well. It's like, well, if they can do it, I can do it too. It's okay. It's accepted. It's condoned, as opposed to a toxic environment where, we've got an employee wellness program. Go and make use of it.
Yeah. So I agree. I think for me, it's what can a corporate do more than what they're currently doing, and running programs that get people to identify that there's an issue in the first place and how to pick it up early and what are the tools to manage this early are crucial. As you said, when you hit that stage of burnout, you will recover and you can recover, but it's going to take longer. It's not like switching on or switching off a light switch and then I'm better, And that's why I think people so desperately look forward to their December break, because they think like, wow, it's been such a stressful year. I just want to get away. But that December holiday from the middle of December till the 1st of January is literally 2 weeks. And that's not enough. Okay. And then we get back into it and we continuously stressed. So you have to make this part of a daily journey and learn the tools and practice the tools on a daily basis. And you'll find that you'll still be faced with the stress, but you'll know how to manage it a lot better.
And this is where I think the Syntropy Wellbeing app can play a large role, because not only can it help you measure those vitals that you were talking about, but you can also access a lot of the tools and resources that you were mentioning. So do you want to give us a little bit of insight onto the Syntropy Wellbeing app?
Yeah, so the Syntropy app that we've created, gives us firstly the opportunity to measure. As I said earlier, you need to know. And it uses a science, and this is a long word, called photoplethysmography. And it's using the infrared portion of your camera to look at the blood flow behind your skin in your face. So it literally takes a minute. Okay, you look into your phone and it gives you a whole range of measurements, such as your heart rate and your blood pressure, but crucially, all your mental health parameters. So we can actually measure your heart rate variability. We can now tell you how the body is responding to stress, as well as how the body, what is the body's ability to recover from stress. Now, once you have something objective, most people want to see something objective. Then the next question is, wow, I'm feeling stressed. My measurements tell me that I'm stressed, but what can I do about it? And within the same app, we've developed a well-being solution that looks at your nutrition, that looks at the type of exercise that you can do, but crucially, all the mental health support that you can get. from breathwork sessions and guided meditations and transformational coaching. So it's almost like a complete solution on your phone in your pocket. And when you need it, you're able to measure yourself. And that's going to be used as an initial guide. And then when you need help, can give you the resources or human resources of who to perhaps talk to or to go and see if you feel like you need more help.
So this app sounds amazing. Riaz, who is it applicable to? Who can use it? Can I use it in my own personal capacity? Can I sign up for it? Or is it aimed at corporates? How do we get access to this tool that can help us so much in managing our own well-being?
Right. So anyone over the age of 14 can use the app. They're still busy doing testing on the software or the technology in younger people. But anyone over the age of 14 could use the app and measure themselves. It's available in both app stores, and people can download it, subscribe, and use it to measure themselves. At a corporate level, I think this is absolutely crucial that you allow your employees to monitor themselves so that you can pick up the problem earlier rather than later, and provide the help that people need.
It almost sounds like this app could replace the annual wellness day, because the wellness day is a once-off. You get your measurements, and then, as we said, so what? What do you do with it? But with what it sounds like with the app is there's continuous monitoring. So you get a trend over a period of time, which can give you more insights and data. Is that right?
Absolutely. So you can test yourselves as many times as you want to in a year. But the solution is quite nice in that it allows you to look at your history of those results and track your results. So if you, let's say you're feeling stressed and the app tells you that you're stressed, and then you went and did a guided meditation as an example, and you test yourself afterwards, you see almost an immediate response by the body, right, in terms of helping you recover. So it's a nice way to identify the problem, but it's also a nice way of looking to see if the interventions and the tools that we use are making a difference.
That sounds amazing, and I think all corporates should be exploring this well-being app, because I think it can add so much value to their employees from a well-being perspective, and equipping them with tools to take care of their own well-being, but also to ensure that the organization is well, because they've got data they can track and measure.
Absolutely, and the other nice thing is you can get your doctor hooked up on a platform where if you consent, you can allow him to receive your data. So no one else can see that except him. And what it then allows is it allows your doctor to also have the information readily available to make the next decision in terms of whether you need, let's say, a prescription, or you need medication, or any other intervention or referral based on what your data shows.
Riaz, this sounds amazing, and I think it can add a lot of value to people individually, but also organizations. And going forward into the new year, if people are interested in this, who do they contact?
So, you can simply go into the app stores and look for Syntrop. It's SYNTROP. There's no Y at the end. Or they can visit our website at syntrop.ai and read up about it and download the app and subscribe and start. And there's a whole lot of videos that explain everything and what each result means and how to use it effectively to get the best results. But start today, monitor yourself, measure yourself, and know where you are physiologically. That's very important.
Well, thanks, Riaz. And I think there you have it, everyone. The first step that you can take to managing your own well-being is being selfish and investing in yourself. Get the app if you can, download it. Otherwise, make an appointment with your doctor so that they can go and look at your levels and test you. And then at least you've got information and you've got a base that you can start working from. And with that, wishing you all the best in taking care of your own well-being.